Hey folks, welcome back. Tim here, Gamma VD. Of course, install video today. This is the Gen 2 Toyota Tundra Double Cab. So Gen 2, of course, 2007 through 2021. They did that facelift around 2015 with the Gen 2.5. Some interior changes, headlight changes, but the roof stayed the same throughout. So again, this is the shorter, not the Crew Max. We have another video for that one. This is the Double Cab, but same process, same drilling, same everything. So let's jump into it. It's gonna be good. Passenger cameras. Give you a shot of the rack itself. So this is a tapered expo. We're gonna also do this in non-tapered, which I think might be the better fit. We'll see that reasoning in a few minutes here. Of course, can run either one of the snap-on fairings. 3 towers per side, 3 of our slotted plates, some back light tabs for some scene lights. Those will come standard. I added a couple extras in the middle here, potential lights down the road. And yeah, standard configuration, Gamma VD rack, of course, compatible with all of our accessories and ready to go. So there we go, installed. Any questions? So yeah, you're probably not laughing. Shortest install video ever. Anyway, let's go back in time and we're gonna put these towers on the truck, jump right into it. Working on the towers for the Tundra. I'm gonna splice this in. It'll be a, one of those time variants, but we'll get past that. Let me show you what I've done so far. What's next? Give you a really good realistic preview on how to add these towers to your Tundra Double Cab. This is the front tower, and the numbers we're looking at from the windshield are 9.5 and 12.5 to those bolts. You guys see that? So that's what you're aiming for, is that 9.5 and 12.5 right to the center of those bolts. And then from there, your magic numbers are 15 and 18. Sorry, I'm so shaky here. So if I measure from the middle of that bolt to the next tower back, again, 15 and 18. And I can go all the way back, again, from the center of this bolt to the furthest back tower. And again, 15 and 18. So I'll post these numbers up in a drawing, but that's what that looks like with that tower mount. Here the tower is removed. Here's the threads I tapped in these front ones. You can see how thick that sheet metal is. Nice feeling threads. In the middle, I also tapped threads. And you can see we're starting to get into some B-pillar stuff, right? Because the door seam comes right up. So I know this is a strong spot to put this tower, but you can see there's kind of another floor in there where I kissed it with the tip of the drill bit. So I had to make sure I was using like a kind of a bottoming tap where it doesn't have a large point to it. And then I got these short bolts. So these are 16 millimeter instead of the normal 30 millimeter that we do on most of them. So that's the difference there. And then in back, we're back to the 30 millimeter bolt length. And again, I tapped threads. They're feeling really nice. I mean, it's still about as thick as a nut, as you can see here. So again, my theory is that if you strip it, you can always riv nut it. But why drill if you don't have to drill? So I'm gonna crank these really hard when we install the racks the last time. I'll try to strip them. If I strip them, I'll riv nut them. And of course, you'll see that in the final video. And then one last time on this number. So I'm holding this tape right at the top edge of the windshield. And there's my 9.5 and there's my 12.5. So that's the same on both the trucks, both Tundras, excuse me, Crew Max and the Double Cab. Of course, the numbers are going to get different as you go further back for the 2 different variants of that cab, but 9.5 and 12.5 from the windshield. Hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Now I'm on the driver's side, holding my tape against the windshield, and I've just made a little dot right there, 9.5, and another one right there at 12.5. So next moves, I'm going to grab my punch. On a cool trick using one of the rubber sealing washers, because there's not a lot of clearance for them to sit down nice and flat in there. So if I hold that over the hole, that tells me exactly where the middle needs to be. So then I can line that up and I'll smack it with my hammer. So here we go. I'm all lined up with my sealing washer telling me where the exact center of the channel is. I put my punch right in the middle there and then smack it. Move to the other line. Put that line in the middle of the sealing washer. Center the punch in the middle of the hole. And that's how you do that. So just like the other side, I could put my tape right over my punch there. And then my next line, my next mark, if you will, is going to be right at 15. Okay. And then my last one's going to be right at 18. Kind of mess that one up, but I'll give myself a little cross. There you go. Hard to hold the camera and make marks at the same time, but there you go. And if you're within a 16th, you're good. Okay, there's slotted towers. We got some wiggle room, but try to get as close as you can. So just to recap one last time, it's 9.5, 12.5, and then you just start at the inner one and it's 15 and 18, and then we'll go back one more time, 15 and 18 to the back, just like you saw on the other side. And then basically a 3-step process for making these threads. So I've got a step drill with a really nice sharp point. In fact, I went on the grinder and kind of resharpened that. So I start with that, try to get it up to about there or so. Then I've got my tap drill, which is the correct size for the M8, and I'm going to finish them both up with this. And then finally, I run my M8 tap down there. So plenty of lube, real generous with the WD as you go with everything. Keep everything really cool, and yeah, make your holes. And there's my tapped hole. So I sped that up, but that was about 2.5 minutes to do that, all 3 operations there. So figure, 3 minutes times 6, 12. So it's gonna take you an hour. I keep rounding up obviously, but it's an extra hour to do this, but give yourself the time. But that bolt goes in there nice and happy. It doesn't wiggle really at all. And I can't, we're gonna be good. One last look at these these threads. So we can get a good look in there. So yeah, quite a few going around. I think we're gonna be in good shape here. So that's what we do. And so I'm gonna drill all the rest of these, and then we're there. Just got my middle towers drilled. And now I'm measuring out for the very back ones here on the driver's side, and again 15 and 18 from the rearmost thing. Now I just thought of something. Quality nerds, and I'm one of you, believe me, they're all going to say, why you can't keep moving datums like that, and you're absolutely correct. The better way to do it would be measure from a single point and then mark them all the way back. That way you don't have a compounding error in measurement. It's just a little bit difficult to do that curve over the windshield, but I'm going to post both numbers because it all should line up. So you can measure whatever way makes you feel most comfortable. So fast forward now to install day. Rack's complete, and we're going to put these towers on for real. So in back, this is my back tower. My height setting, I'm starting at kind of level 2 of 4, and in front we're all the way up at the level 4 of 4 on the things, and that's just to start. We can always dial that in. And of course our middle tower with the short screws is no adjustment in the middle. That's just going to float to meet the party. Remember, we're using the rubber sealing washers on the bottom as well as the Dynaflex. And just a quick shot of what that looks like. I got my oval washers on the top, rubber sealing washers, rubber down, and then a little bit of that nice black polyurethane. So just gonna line them up with the holes. And just like all of them, you get one started, and then you wiggle the other one over and you get it started, and then you just start walking them down. We're not gonna crank them. We're gonna get them just kind of snug, but we want them to be able to maybe shift a little bit as we line it up with the rack. So yeah, no need to crank it yet. Well, don't worry, we'll crank them at the end. And here's a shot of all 6 towers bolted up, ready to go. Got my wrenches ready, my pile of hardware ready. It's time to lift a rack on. Easier obviously with 2 people, but when you're by yourself, have like a moving blanket or something on there, or you could keep some of that foam that came with the rack on the rack bars so that if you need to, you can take a little break and put it on the roof. But anyway, I'm by myself, but at least I can jump in the bed. Let's see how I do. Yeah, so that worked. It's up there. I don't know if you saw that move, but you can kind of walk the front corners up and get it up on the towers. Obviously easier with a buddy, but hey, it's possible by yourself. We've done it before. Show you what we got up here. Pulled an audible on the front tower, and I removed that middle screw, and I have that pushed basically as high as it goes. And that's for that gap right there in the middle of the rack so it doesn't touch the roof. That's true on all of these. It's just using that front set of towers to make that adjustment. In the back, we've still got that bolt running right through that kind of second hole. And then up top, you can see these are where those tower bolts are all gonna line up. Haven't done that side yet. That's next. Gonna get them all finger tight, and then we'll go through the tightening sequence. So time to tighten it up. We've got all of our bolts here now, kind of finger tight. Rack's where we want it. So that sequence, every single rack is the same. We start with that inside top tower bolt. We snug it up, and then we move to the outside, get that one tight. Then the next move is to switch to your 6mm wrench through the rack, and you want to tighten those bolts going into the truck. That's these guys. So basically, we're squeezing that tower top tight to the rack first, and then we're smashing that rubber sealing washer down tight to the truck, and that's expanding that tower a little bit. So the last thing we're going to do then is to do those 2 that go through the tower, and we're going to lock that into that position. So start at the front, work your way back. Everything's good. All right, so we are all buttoned up and ready to go. But before I wrap it up, I did make a couple adjustments. I want to show you exactly what I did. And the big one is I moved the rack back. I really didn't like it when it was set up here. I thought it was too far forward of the windshield, and I wanted them centered in the plates just for some aesthetic reasons. And I really liked how the back bar kind of falls over the back edge of the truck, and sliding it 1.5 inches forward just wasn't really doing it for me. Then I had to deal with that gap across the center, which as you see looks pretty good. How I did that was I switched the back towers down to, call it level 1, so the lowest position if you're using the bolts. And then I added some little aluminum spacer washers above the front towers. So that's got the bar off the roof, and structurally, not worried at all. I'm shaking the heck out of this. It's gonna be just fine. And this is the first double cab rack, so I'm okay with it. There's always a couple little tweaks we make as we get these dialed in. I think in the future, the easiest way to avoid what I just went through was just to not do the tapered expo bar, and just keep those 2 bars uniform gap. That buys you a whole nother inch in clearance across the front over the windshield. Solves this, would actually allow you to run that rack a little bit lower. That solves it. Certainly we can do this if you like that appearance from the side and you don't mind a couple spacer washers in front. We can obviously make that happen for you as well. So in any case, just wanted to be clean on all of those changes, but that's what we did. And with that, I think I will wrap it up. I'm gonna go get some pictures of this guy, see on the internet. Really appreciate you sticking it out with this one, kind of start to finish, how the whole process works for installing these in a Tundra. And man, thank you again for watching. Tell me what questions you have. Of course, tell me what else you want to see on videos, as well as products. See you on the next one.